Good evening, everyone. The mayor is running a few minutes late, so she'll be joining us shortly. Today is June 1st, legislative session. Please start with a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Martha, please.
Okay. Trustee Fritchie?
Present.
Trustee Lopez?
Present.
Trustee White?
Present.
Deputy Mayor Casada?
Present.
Okay. We have our first public hearing for proposed local law 5 of 2022, a local law adding a new chapter 206, release of balloons and sky lanterns prohibited to the Village of Austin Code.
Thank you, Martha.
Is there anybody who would like to speak on the proposed local law?
I don't see anyone. Anyone from the board? No? Okay. Go ahead, Martha. You muted though, just in case.
Martha, we need a motion to close.
Sorry, I had a call. I'm so sorry. Yes, can I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Do we have a second?
Yeah, Omar, I believe, did a second.
Yes. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, public hearing, application for density bonus in the downtown overlay district pursuant to Village Code sections 270-15.1E5C and 270-54. Is there anybody here who would like to address the board on the public hearing?
Now, Stuart, if you don't mind just refreshing our memories in regards to what exactly this means, please.
You wish to add a floor. And in the downtown overlay, to do that, there has to be a setback. But to do that, it's a density bonus. And to accomplish the density bonus, they need a special permit. Special permit can only be granted by the Board of Trustees. The Planning Board has reviewed the recommendation, that has reviewed the proposal. They are in support of it. And it then comes back to you for the special permit. It would then go back to the planning board for whatever, additional site plan review work that is required with regard to this location. Next to the, or linked to the public hearing is both the planning board's letter as well as the letter from the consulting engineer who helped develop the overlay district for us from BFJ. So both are there, but this is essentially to provide additional density. To get that additional density within the overlay, which is what they're proposing to do, they require the special permit.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Stuart. Welcome, Mayor. I'll leave the floor to you.
Are we live?
We are. Yeah, we started. We are in the public hearings right now, Mayor. This is the second one that we do, that we just were just talking about. Stuart just explaining that over to us right now. So I'll leave that floor to you.
Oh, sorry, I'm late. Every once in a while, I don't get here as quickly as I hope to get here. Great. So you did all the announcements and everything at this point?
No announcements yet. No, we
We're just on public hearing.
Just the
B?
public hearings. Correct. Yes.
All right. So we're on the second. No, he just did the density bonus. I heard.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
We did A and we are in B right now. Yes, correct.
Okay. So Stuart, where are we in B? It sounded like you completed your.
I did, and the question was if there's anyone from the public who wishes to address the board
Okay.
on the public hearing.
Thank you. I don't see anybody. Doesn't look like any, correct?
Nope, no hands are raised.
And
Okay.
Martha, we can call for a motion.
Can I have a motion and a second to close the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
All those
Any
in-
comments? Sorry, Martha, any comments? I think they were already discussed. So Martha,
all those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Okay, mayor and trustees announcement is next.
Great, thank you. I'm going to just say welcome, Dale, and congratulations on your nuptials. I hope it all went well, and that you had wonderful weather and all the other great stuff. So welcome back, I guess, after taking a few days. And
Thank you.
you're welcome. Are we changing your last name, or we're holding on to?
We are sticking with Brennan. Thank you.
I like it. I've been sticking with Levin as well after many happy years of marriage, but still using my family name. So are there any, I'm going to go last. Are there any trustee, I'm sure there are any trustee announcements? Nope. All right. I'm not seeing anybody. So I will just say welcome to June. June is a great month. In the Northeast, it is the -- 1 month for births, which means lots and lots of peoples will have birthdays this month. It is also a Pride Month, in my opinion, an exceedingly important time. So there are many events around the county and around the world, actually. It is especially an interesting time because there is lots of conversations going on about the parallel paths of Supreme Court decisioning around Roe v. Wade, and also whether that affects the LGBTQ plus community. We here in Ossining do raise a flag for Pride Month. I believe that we have tomorrow morning, Maddie. I never remember, Maddie. Is it tomorrow morning at 9? It is. Thank you, Karen. I'm trying to look at my other screen at 9 a.m. Everyone's welcome at Market Square. We will raise a flag that represents the rainbow, which is an inclusive flag. It's actually very interesting how they came up, how the community came up with that flag. If you want to read about it, you can Google it. I will also mention that this month is also Juneteenth, a relatively new holiday. More to come on that. That's 2-3 weeks away. So I want to take it in the right order, but look for many events for Juneteenth as well. We will also be announcing, it was in the mayor's note, but there will be also a flag raising for that as well. I'm sure that the manager will be discussing some DRI pieces and more of the meetings that we're having. So I'm going to stick with my plan to keep these things short, sweet, and we have a lot of material, I think, on the website, etc. So I think we can go on now to the Martha. I think it's the next thing is a special presentation.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I just wanted to make a quick correction just because we have a lot going on this week. So tomorrow at 9 a.m. is actually the Juneteenth.
Oh, is that,
Flag
I
raising?
was questioning myself, but I
Yeah.
was quickly like going, you can't see my hands. I'm quickly going through my calendar. So
Yeah,
9
sorry
if I
a.m.
misled you there, so.
15th.
Right. So tomorrow, Thursday, June 2nd at 9 a.m. is Juneteenth in Market Square. And Friday, June 3rd at 4 p.m. is the Pride flag raising, also in Market Square.
Right. Both flags will be raised and hung for the month of June. And in addition, there will be some Juneteenth events, which will be here in Ossining, as well as elsewhere. One of them was actually at the county at 6 o'clock today. So there are a number of events that we will also be highlighting for folks to know. Thank you, Maddie. I knew that I had to question mark that one. Okay. Martha, I think we are now up to presentation from the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council. I see Mr. Dewey is already on.
Good evening, everybody.
Are we ready?
Hello, sir. We're always ready.
Yeah.
This is a ready board.
Mary Mary? I'll let you know. Congratulations, Dale. I'm keeping my name as well. I just feel that's proper. So just so you know, but good for you. Hope everyone had a great Memorial Day weekend. Thank you to all those who've constantly give our lives to the country and are out there protecting us all the time, as well as all our first responders. Bob and I, it's our pride. We are proud to serve this community as first responders, and we encourage all those that are watching to please come and join, whether it be the ambulance or fire or whatever, to help your community. This is one of my favorite things I've ever done for the community. I'm glad, for those of you that don't know, I'm now back again as the chairman of the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council. So thank you for having me tonight. And what I did is I put together a quick synopsis to make it simple. Gosh, the one thing we don't want to watch at 20 to 8 at night are a bunch of figures, but I think it's kind of interesting to watch. I've been watching this now for 5 years. We kind of reinvented this thanks to Trustee Levin at that time and Trustee Casada. We've reinvigorated the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council. Julie and I, original members, are still on board, Julie Johnson and I. And we put together a quick synopsis of what we're kind of seeing as the trends going on. And Maddie, if you can, unless everybody just wants to look at their stats, whatever you want to do. But very quickly, when we first started off, people didn't know about us and all that. So in 2018, we had 18 intakes, and a lot of it, it didn't kind of make sense. There was a lot more things about habitability, heat, repair. So what I did was, rather than just say it's a landlord tenant, it's a rent issue, it's that, I kind of broke it down into 3 different areas. And one is for leases, and that basically covers rent, lease renewal, security deposit. Then the issues that we thought were going to be really the biggest issues of all in Ossining, and it really didn't end up being that way, under occupancy. I put habitability, heat, and repair because those are generally, when someone complains, it's going to always fall under that when it comes to heat or a habitability issue. The other landlord tenant issues are kind of like, it's kind of like a personality between the landlord and the tenant. And then the final issues, sometimes we have tenant versus tenant. And unfortunately, what happens is a lot of times we get tenants to contact us and they've already been served with either a 30-day or a 14-day notice to be in court. And we become limited with our counsel. We're not Legal Service Hudson Valley or Legal Aid Society. We don't give legal advice. We don't represent people in court, which still seems to be a bit of a confusion with some folks. But in 2018, we had 18, 16, and 19, we had 16. In 2020, obviously during COVID, it's a unique year because no evictions were taking place. No landlords really could do anything. The courts were closed. And therefore, the numbers are a little bit skewed for 2020. 21, it picked up again for 13 because the courts are now starting to open. Landlords are starting to have the ability to start bringing cases back together again. And this year to date, we've already had 12 cases. We're very proud to say 9 of them are already, in fact, we resolved our 11th one tonight. The 12th one is still open. And so each year, all these cases have been resolved in a pretty timely manner. I'm very proud of our council being able to do that. Some took 2 or 3 months, some take, literally, I had one last year that took 24 hours. It was resolved in 24 hours. So basically the overall look, it may not be surprising. A lot of folks were thinking that rent was going to be the biggest one, but it really wasn't. A lot of it came from lease renewals. Now, last year, we had 46% lease renewal because a lot of landlords were frustrated with the courts, were frustrated with the stays for either what was called a hardship declaration or the emergency rental application program, assistance program, which basically the courts are stayed. For those of you that don't know what that is, it is still in effect. We are receiving monies from the federal government as well as other state subsidies in Albany for what's known as the Emergency Rent Assistance Program. We have it up on our website at the Landlord Tenant Relations Council link. Tenants can apply and they get generally up to 12 months of rent accommodated if they fall within the economic guidelines. Some have actually received 15 months, whether it's a disability or children, what have you. And the landlords have been getting paid. They're getting their checks, but they're waiting a year and a half. So in 2021, when the court started opening, landlords being frustrated as they weren't renewing their leases. They just were saying, that's it, you're gone, I'm not renewing the lease. So we saw an increase in the lease renewals for 2021. Coming to this year, 2022, because the landlords are still waiting for the funds, we're finding any intakes we're getting opposed to the rent is not so much about a lease renewal. It's just that they haven't paid their rent because they're waiting for the money. So it's not unlikely is to see an increase as to why the rent. It's not so much that our apartments are not affordable. Ossining still remains probably the fourth best village in entire Westchester County with the rents. We still have rents ranging from $1,400 to $2,000 for studios and 1 bedrooms. It's unheard of in Westchester. We have 2-bedroom apartments that are still at $2,200. Yes, the higher end, the places like Avalon or condos, yes, they're into the $2,300s or $2,800 a month. But generally, just so you know, Ossining still has very, very affordable rents. Just understand that during COVID, nobody moved. The courts have recently opened up, so there isn't a big availability we're seeing rent as far as vacancy wise and people able to move because they're just not moving yet. As to habitability and repair, I thought there'd be more. And I've been doing this for 5 years now. I thought there'd be a lot more. It's decreased. Last year, we actually had our first mediation. We had a Zoom thing. The tenant came on board. The landlord was there. It went very, very well. But a lot of these habitabilities repair, I think some tenants believe it's like a hotel where the landlord's supposed to go in and they're going to clean the rugs and they're going to do this. And they're going to, no, you're the tenant. You maintain your apartment. You keep it clean. And if there's a habitability issue, fine. We had 2 heat calls where we actually had the Ossining Building Department go in. The heat was at 68 or 70 and the windows were wide open. We had one where the beginning of this year, very, very cold week. I think it was that stretch in March. And the person had boxes and luggage against the registers where the heat came out, had 2 windows wide open and was complaining about the heat. Well, you got to clear out. We just explained to the tenant. We didn't understand what was going on until the landlord and Greg Gross from the building department showed us you got the vents blocked from letting the heat into the apartment. So things like that we were able to resolve. Rarely do we see tenant versus tenant issues anymore. The other that you see in issues other in this year, the couple of cases that we have, these people are already in legal. They're in court in Ossining already. If we can help them, we'll be glad to help. We put an offer out to the landlord's attorney to contact us if they want assistance. But generally at that point, many landlord attorneys are not going to work. Their mission at that point is for their client to get the tenant out or get a payment agreement with them. I also took the time out. It's kind of interesting. I just took the time, I went back through all the buildings and all of our things and the type of units, just to see where maybe a lot of these occurrences were coming from. And this is in general, doesn't matter what type of occurrence it is, but not uncommon that the bigger buildings, generally 11 units and above, bring us some of the most problems. And that a lot of times has to do with the return of the security and all that. But I want to remind people that in 2019, we had the Housing Stability Tenant Protection Act brought in. This changed it codified a lot of things that should have been happening in the first place, in that security must be returned in 14 days. There will be no issue with that. You must return it or give them a receipt as to why the security wasn't returned. And we see, like this year, we haven't had a security deposit issue yet. It dropped in 2021 to 8% from the prior year. The smaller units, 10 to 4, I expected to see more issues in those buildings, but no, that's a little less. And the private homes, I made it from 3 to 1, is generally a little higher. That's where you've got single mom and pop. They're running a 3-family house or 2-family, and they don't know you got to give a cash receipt for rent. You got to do this. So our bigger buildings, they still tend to have more of the complaints. So they got bigger leases. They've got more issues. Our smaller units, 10 to 4 unit families is typical, but the private homes, 3 to 1, a little bit alarming that there's more increase from the intakes that we're getting our 1 to 3 family houses. And they're just flat out, many times, these are not business owners. They don't have attorneys that can advise them of the new laws. These are the mom and pops or, the children that took over the home from mom and dad and are using it for a rental. So they're not up to date on the law. But generally, this council, I want to thank you again for the opportunity to serve from all 5 of us right now. we are enjoying it. We're having a great time. We believe we're actually doing something for this community. We are helping tenants. We are helping landlords too. We had 4 or 5 of these complaints actually came in from landlords to help them assist them. We believe it's a valid, very, very important function for our village to have. There are not too many in the entire Westchester County community. And I think we're doing a great job and really helping out landlords. I did present this to Rika and to Manny. And with big thanks to Manny, our one case that we're working on this week is a Spanish-speaking tenant. We used to have 2 members that spoke Spanish fluently. So with the assistance of Manny, we thank you very much. We're able to hopefully resolve this matter. But if we can, our next member or anybody out, if anybody's watching in the vast internet world wants to join us and speak Spanish, that would assist us, because we do have a major tenancy role and landlord role that speaks Spanish only. And that limits most of us on the board to assist them, with the exception of Manny assisting us. So just a thought in the future, if we get another volunteer, don't want to, we'll always take volunteer. I think we've still got 3 seats open, but a Spanish speaking person would certainly help us. And I'll leave it open to any questions. I try to make that as quick and brief as possible. And I'll leave it open to you if you have any questions. This is what we're doing and what we can do better for you.
Thank you, Mr. Dewey. Opening it up, let me start by thanking you and the entire committee for all the work that you do. It goes without saying that this has become a very important committee. It was my pleasure to work on this with Manny. I also work with then trustee Contel Bazemore on building this back up, and you and a few other folks have really made this all happen. I'm glad to see that. I appreciate the stats. I would simply chime in with, is there something that the board can do at this point going forward? Are you missing something? Is there more training? Do you have a wish list for us that we might make this more productive for you, for the community? There's always room for improvements. So is there something that you haven't asked for the board?
Well, thank you. Last couple of years, I know Julie did and I did 2 years ago, we'd asked for a budget to get mediation training. And I just can't believe it's such a brick wall. There is mediation training. Stuart came in one time and helped us out a couple of years back. It was great. It's tremendous insight. I myself do local small claims arbitration for the Bronx Civil. I haven't done that for now the last couple of years, but it's pretty straightforward. So our last mediation, we just held it. We just had a Zoom meeting. It was fantastic. We actually had 2 nights. We had to come back a second night. And I think we'll just go with it. This mediation, they want $3,000 to $4,000 per person. Then and the idea is that they want you over at the courts, and then you help out, do small claims, you help out mediate stuff. I don't think we need that. I think our crew is well qualified in understanding landlord tenant. I get it. I can help supplant any legal information towards our counsel if needed. Again, we don't give legal advice, but we want to be able to tell folks, these are the laws, this is where you look for them. With thanks to Maddie and Jamie Hoffman, they constantly put stuff up on our website, the links to the ERAP. If anything from the board, just remind people, well, here's what I could use from the board. We would like to get a straight answer from Albany as to whether or not money is still available. Now, what's confusing everyone is on their website, the Emergency Rent Assistance Program, they got a big block there that says no more money available to anybody that applied after November. Then there's another thing that we've got monies coming in. I have called and spoken to the people in Albany. They are terrific. It's a great crew. They will tell you where the tenant is at, what the landlord needs. One person will tell you there's no more money after January 15th, and we're taking applications, but we're not paying. Then the next person will tell you, yes, we're now getting an influx of money effective as of March something. Unfortunately, what's happening is that everybody is sitting in the courts waiting to know what's going on. Many landlords are getting paid. Many landlords are just under review. Some landlords have been under review since October of last year. And folks that applied in January this year, those landlords have already been paid rent. So we can't get a consistent answers to whether or not money is available. If money is available, terrific. We want to be able to tell the tenant that and to apply. If money is not available, they shouldn't be telling folks to apply. And now the tenant sits back and does nothing about their rent. They think they're going to have this windfall from Albany. I just had a lady who just got denied ERAP. I believe that she didn't fall within the economic guidelines, but we have been in court since November. We have delayed the matter since ERAP. She just got denied. And now we are talking 8 months worth of rent now due. This person's not gonna be able to come up with it. And it's a shame. She's a very nice lady and all that, but she said, no, I'll get money from Albany. You know, and in this case, she may not. If anybody on the board can talk to someone in Albany and find out the actual answer.
Can you just send me to mayor@villagehousing.org, like who you spoke to, what department it is, so I could see if we could take it from there, just to get whoever the commissioner is or the director or whatever, and just say, look, here's the situation. And lastly, you mentioned that we're one of the few municipalities that have the landlord tenant. Where are we with that? Like, how many municipalities actually have landlord
I've
tenant?
only heard of 2 or 3 others. I think Nyack had one, but in Westchester County itself, I had 2 people call me from Mount Pleasant. Would you help us out? I said, I really can't. Technically, the town outside, I might entertain if you guys gave us permission to do that, but
Yeah, okay,
I
I'm
would
just
say
curious. I
Portchester-
could actually look this
Portchester-
up. I just
Mayor,
thought.
Mayor, the truth is, within this area, the only real local one that has it is New Paltz. That's actually the
New Paltz,
closest
and
one you'll find.
I think, and I thought Portchester may have put one together. I'm not sure.
But it's you can count them on one hand.
Yeah.
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 But
But we've,
I didn't know New Paltz was Westchester either.
no, it isn't.
No, I
I
meant
know,
within the
I know it
Hudson
isn't.
Valley, that's it. And in fact, if you check municipal codes, there are very few within the only one that really pops up right away is New Paltz. Most municipalities don't have them.
And
Even the
when we originally started-
cities must have it, like Yonkers, 200,000 people, they don't have a,
Well, they have different governmental organizations that deal with
okay,
tenants. So they
have it differently, they have it set
Right.
up differently, okay.
But what?
All right,
what's
those
nice
were my
about this
questions,
are-
sorry, Steve.
Yeah, we're getting ahead of the game before these people go to court. But I think we saved probably about, if you're looking at 13 to 14, probably a little bit more average a year, right? 18 to 20 cases a year. I would, no exaggeration, probably 10 to 12 of those we probably saved from actually getting into court. Like I said, some people come to us a little too late. They're already in court. And at that point, they're going to negotiate or
Right.
handle it in the courtroom. But I think that's a big advantage of what we're doing here. And I think it's helped our community out.
Okay, well, thank you, Steve. So let me open it up for any commentary, maybe the liaison, etc. If anybody has any questions, comments, etc. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just one comment, I guess, maybe 2 comments there. Thank you, Steve and everybody in the tenant relationship that they actually do a fantastic job. It's amazing of the stuff that they do and how they manage, because you need to try to understand both sides of the coin in a way, sure, the tenants and the landlords, and that sometimes becomes a little bit of complex. It's like, trying to figure out what happened. So I commend you guys for all the fantastic work that you guys do. And yes, I'm going to echo what Steve said. Please, if whoever's watching and is interested to do this kind of work, is a fantastic position to be on. At some point, one day, I'll be most likely applying myself to be part of this group. Whenever
We'll take you.
finish. Whenever I'm done with this side of the table, but they do an amazing job, and it's so difficult because you see the the good side and the bad side sometimes, from a tenant to a landlord. Landlords taking advantage of a tenant, sometimes tenant not having the right information, and it's just difficult. And how do you put that in a balance? Sure. So it's difficult and is very interesting, the kind of work that they do. So please, whoever's interested, contact us, contact the landlord tenant just look it up in the page, see what they're all about. It's a terrific group to be part of it. So thank you, Steve, for all the hard work that you guys do.
Thank you.
And you know, whatever, like I'm gonna echo what the mayor said. If you think about anything else, I'm gonna hold the mayor accountable for getting the answers from Albany. I'm not
Wow.
gonna promise you that on my
Sorry,
end.
Mayor, I didn't mean to start anything. Well, maybe I did.
But you know, we can definitely we'll try to do our best to help
Yeah.
you, you know, and anything else in that one as well. So thank you, Steve, and thank you for everybody that is part of that group.
Anybody else? Okay, Mr. Dewey, thank you for your service. Thank you for your
Thank you all.
volunteerism. Glad to see we're midway through the year, less than midway on your numbers, so you probably will have a few more cases this year. Thank everybody else as well. We heard you that you're looking for 3 more people. I do want to say that when you're in court next time, you may want to ask either the judges or Ann. They do use a telephone service for Spanish in case.
They do.
I think it's better to have a person. There's no question. We'd love that. Just putting it out there that while we have 2 trustees that actually are fluent in Spanish, if it comes to that, you may just want to get the information for the service and let the village manager know. It may need to be some budget set aside, you know, in case you
Yeah,
use it. I don't know the costs, but I mean, it's an alternative, and if
Yep.
it comes down to that, that's all.
You had mentioned, I looked into it, and it is very effective, especially in the local courts. We've used it in Nassau, you know, especially if you have Chinese or Mandarin or Portuguese.
It's actually all languages.
It's all languages, and
all
they're
languages.
right on. It's a learning curve because you have to learn to speak 2 sentences. They translate 2 sentences, and but it works.
Well,
yeah,
it's an alternative, Steve.
yeah.
Just that I don't want.
I don't know the costs. I know it's going to
Yeah,
cost.
well,
We'll
but
find out.
ask Ann and in the court,
Yeah.
and or ask somebody on staff to help you. They've been doing this for a number of years. It's just something to have at your fingertips. You don't need to use it, but if you have to, in one occasion here and there, they'll also want to know, you know, just to put some amount of budget for you guys, et cetera, et cetera. Just it might come in handy. That's all.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. Have a lovely rest of the evening. No, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you want to.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Good night. Okay, Martha.
We're on to administrative reports. Village Manager Karen DeTore.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. So I think that the big news right now is we're getting to the finish line with our downtown revitalization initiative planning, and that's the planning for the $10 million grant that we received from New York State to revitalize the downtown waterfront district. We will be having our next local, the 5th of 6 local planning committee meetings next week. And the following week on Tuesday, June 14th, we will be having a community meeting at the community center from 6 to 8 p.m. Everyone is, we think it's at the community center right now. A slight chance it may change, but right now it's at the community center. We'll keep you posted, and that will be an opportunity for everybody to come and hear about the projects that have been proposed, to weigh in and give their feedback, prioritize the projects, and help us figure out what we're going to appeal to the state to fund for the $10 million grant. And it includes projects like the improvements to the community center, capital improvements to the community center, redevelopment of Market Square site, more activity or more access to the waterfront rather through expanded ferry service and enhancements to Sing Sing Prison Museum. So a whole wide range of different things are on the slate right now to be funded, and we need to hear from all of you. So mark your calendars for June 14th and try to join us that evening. We also had a visit from our tree inspector, I guess. Maddie, maybe you want to mention a couple of words about how our 80 trees that we did are doing last year, that we planted
Sure.
last year, or doing this year rather.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Board. Yes, so we had a scheduled visit from our regional urban forester, George Profis, on Tuesday of last week. Donna Sharrett, who is a big local tree expert, also working for Cornell Cooperative Extension as a master gardener volunteer, who was instrumental helping us with the project. They both met me over at Nelson Park and Nelson Sitting Park. They both were very pleased with how our trees have done. So because the trees that we got were about 3 inches in diameter when they were planted, they tend to not be as successful, but because of the planting season during which we got the grant, that was the best decision made at the time. And they were very, very pleased with how the trees came out. They were coming up on their 1-year warranty period a couple weeks ago. So we had the folks at Save a Tree as part of their contract under the grant come and do an inspection. There were a handful of trees that need to be replaced, but the nursery is also is already hard at work with the Parks Department to get us those replacements. And so I just want to say again a great deal of thanks to the Parks Department staff, Bill Garrison, Miguel Mara, and his team. George said again and again and again that we did so well with actually planting these trees, and he only babysat us for about 10 or 15 of them, and it was real testament to the gentleman who works for the Parks Department for doing so well with the rest of them. So they all look great. If you haven't been over, there's a handful that are not looking so hot, but probably within the next 2 weeks they will be replaced. But everything else is coming along really healthy and green, and can't wait to see the colors change in the fall because there's all different ones coming. So
I had a question about that because I was down there. Was there a part, let me start again. Was there a part or an opportunity from that grant that there can be labels on the way to educate folks of the type of trees, possibly that they're pollinators, that they're any labeling that goes as they do like in other education forums?
Yep, that is actually the final component of the grant that we need to complete before closing out. We had hoped to do at least one large interpretive signboard in each park. So again, one in Nelson Sitting, and then do the individual. They kind of look like dog tags on each individual tree. Unfortunately, there's only room in the budget to do one or the other. And so in speaking with the DEC, they said, why don't you prioritize the large interpretive signage because the other ones, are easier to get, and you could potentially ask for another grant for those, or you could do it out of operating. It's not terribly expensive. So we are working, Jamie and I, on finalizing the language for those boards, and then we will be in business on to the next project.
We should contact Cornell and the Bronx Botanical. They use the size of index cards, and they have these standard, like, I happen to visit these things when I travel. I like them. At least my husband likes them. And Cornell has a huge area, and we do work with them already. It's good to get in touch with them, but I think also Bronx Botanical in Brooklyn, actually, as you walk through, they're like the size of index cards on sticks, basically.
Yeah, we had been working with Erica Bosch when she was on the EAC. That's something that in a past life she was actually responsible for doing in one of her jobs. And so this was the alternative that she had suggested were the dog tags. They they stick with the tree, they don't impede the growth, and they're a little bit harder to damage. But we're not at that stage just yet. We're going to work on the bigger ones so we can always
that's something that's coming. Great. Okie dokie. Head of the curve.
All right. That concludes my report for tonight, but a lot of exciting things going on. So we hope everybody comes out next Tuesday and tells us what we should do with $10 million.
Minus 300,000.
Yes.
For consultants. Don't forget, you have to be clear about that.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions, comments, thoughts? All righty.
Okay, Corporation Counsel Stuart Kahan.
Thank you, Martha. Good evening, folks.
Good evening.
Just briefly following up on Maddie's discussion about the trees. Having a large vegetable garden in my backyard, I have now learned which plants need to be covered, which plants do not need to be covered, which plants my wife tells me to absolutely stay away from, and which plants I should go near. If I have done something wrong, that would be the poison ivy. But otherwise, It is interesting to see all of that coming up. The hot weather is finally helping. The tomatoes are coming up and everything else is blooming. I hope to have one of the meetings from the Cajon farm coming up, and we'll bring some stuff in as it's going. It's kind of nice to have that in the backyard. But with regard to our meeting tonight, we did have the two public hearings, and I thank the board for that. Proposed local law 520-2022, which will become local law 3 of 2022 on the balloons and sky lanterns. We did have the public hearing that will be up for adoption on the 15th of the month. There's also a resolution that was discussed last week in work session with regard to authorizing the village manager to sign the agreement with Mitchell Associates relating to the consolidation of firehouses. And also with regard to the letter of intent with the county Department of Community Mental Health for the mobile crisis response team, which was a major point both by the Police Reform Advisory Committee, by this board with regard to the plan, and really with regard to Westchester County. There will be two resolutions calling for public hearings, one with regard to proposed local law 6 relating to video conferencing, which was discussed last week, and proposed local law 7, which is to amend the community choice aggregation program. We're going to actually, I believe, Maddie, have a presentation on that next week, but this way we would have the local law, the hearing scheduled for the 15th. I do want to thank the folks at Sustainable Westchester. They made my life very easy by essentially already changing local law 10 with all the different things that are needed with regard specifically to different types of energy credits. And that's something that will be discussed next week, but there will be the resolution tonight to call for that public hearing. There is actually, my apologies, the zoning meeting is not till the 14th, so we're actually a week ahead of schedule, but there is a planning board work session tomorrow night. So if anyone is interested in watching that meeting, and since it's a work session, there would be no audience participation, but if you wish to watch and hear what the board is discussing, it is available by Zoom. I believe that meeting, you'd have to check the website for the start time, but there is a planning board work session tomorrow night because the planning board has a great deal on its agenda. That's it from the Corporation Council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Stuart. The mobile response unit is going to be, I think, an interesting topic. Number one, part of its genesis is from police reform. Part of it is something the chief has spoken about a number of times, something that we had in the past and the county level is doing, and Austin is part of the pilot. I don't know if he's planning to speak about it or not, but came up, and at a march this past weekend, there were a few people that talked about mental health post the Texas school mass shooting and the issues of mental health. And just as a side conversation, I had mentioned this pilot that Austin is, people seem to be interested. So I just want to underscore that when we discuss it, we might want to also take the opportunity to tell people what it really is, sort of take a couple of minutes as a part of educating the public, just putting it out there for everybody in the gallery. But I think it's become an even bigger important topic, given some of the scenarios that are going on around the country. Okay, Martha.
Okay, Police Chief Kevin Sylvester.
Good evening. A few things going on at the police department over the past couple of weeks. Last week, we issued awards to a number of officers for good work done over the past couple of years. For those that weren't able to attend, those issued awards last week were Officer Joe Rinaldi, who received his drone operator wings. He's an FAA certified pilot now. Exceptional police duty, Officer Anthony Stern is our top DWI enforcer. Officer Joe Rinaldi for an arrest of people actively stealing catalytic converters, a major problem across Westchester County. Officer Bill Gallagher, who arrested a man with a gun in the middle of daytime traffic. Unit citation for Sergeant Mike Lance, Sergeant Pat McGovern, Officer Ryan Tompkins, and Officer Manny Anjo for safe arrest of a man with a gun on North Highland Avenue without injury or harm to that person. Life-saving awards, Sergeant McGovern and Officer De Silva for Narcan saves. Recognized for 20 years of service over the past couple of years as we weren't able to have award ceremonies the last few due to the pandemic. Lieutenant Donahue, Sergeant Joe Tolvey, Sergeant Castanis, Officer Eccles, Officer Rizzi, and Officer Stern. The entire department was issued a pandemic response award to recognize their service during the time when most people weren't out of their homes and our folks continued to come to work. Detective Chavez got the Chief's Award for his unique and special work in our community with the Hispanic community, in particular through social media. And we gave special recognition to Carlos Castro, who is a lifetime volunteer through our department with the auxiliaries, as well as working in both the town and village courts, and just a person who's dedicated a lifetime of service through the Civilian Police Complaint Review Board and a series of other things. So that was it for awards. Last Friday, we saw the graduation of officers Ryan, Carlson, Costa, and Dennis from the Westchester County Police Academy. They are now on to radar and LiDAR training for traffic enforcement and will begin field training on Monday. And this week, our department will begin undergoing recertification for tasers, where we'll be deploying the Taser 7, the newest variation of that tool, which some of you were able to see last week when Axon came for demonstrations. That's all for me tonight. If you have questions or comments on the mobile crisis response team, I figure I'll comment on that when the resolution's up.
Anybody?
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you, Chief. Thank you to Lieutenant De Silva. I'm glad he got an award. Thank you I did shoot a taser. I went to the Axon open house, I guess, and Axon makes body cams and dashboard cams and tasers and these virtual reality training tools. It was really fascinating. And they asked me if I had ever shot a gun before. I said I tried once, but I was 10. I couldn't pull the trigger. That's as close as I've gotten. But it was interesting, and we shot at some targets, and they had a big semi-trailer. And I think it's important to have some exposure to these tools that our police force uses, and to understand them. And so it was interesting. Thank you.
This was open to the public too, because you had like vans down there. Was this open to the public or just for?
No, it was not. We invited people from local government, other departments.
Okay, great. Great. Yeah. Okay. Martha?
Okay, time for organizational announcements. Is there anybody from the public who would like to make an organizational announcement? Nope. Seeing no one, is there anybody here who would like to address the board on any of the resolutions on the agenda? Okay, seeing no one, we're going to go on to village board resolutions. Approval of minutes, May 18th, 2022. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austining hereby approves the minutes of the May 18th, 2022 regular meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any comments? Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, approval of minutes, May 25th, 2022. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austining hereby approves the minutes of the May 25th, 2022 special meeting as presented. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Comments?
I will abstain from this vote, please.
Got it? Martha?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And Bob abstains.
Approval of voucher detail, June 1st, 2022. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austining hereby approves the voucher detail report dated June 1st, 2022 in the amount of $443,233.55. Do I have a motion?
So,
Second.
comments?
Thank you, Dale.
All
Martha?
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, authorizing the village manager to sign an agreement with Mitchell Associates Architects PLLC to conduct a study for possible consolidation of firehouses of the Austining Volunteer Fire Department. Whereas on March 21st, 2022, the Village of Austining issued a request for proposals, RFP, for possible consolidation of the 7 firehouses in the Village of Austining. And whereas the goals and objectives of the RFP were to A, objectively measure the deficiencies of each of the 7 firehouses in the Village of Austining, B, explore how existing facilities may be expanded or new sets acquired to appropriately combine fire companies and maximize safety, maintain or decrease response times, and discover operational efficiencies for training, storage of vehicles, etc. And C, develop an action plan for all recommendations with estimated cost for each component and suggested funding resources. And whereas the village received 1 response from the RFP from Mitchell Associates Architects PLLC, which company undertook a study of the fire department in 2009. And whereas village staff and elected officials interviewed representatives from Mitchell Associates Architects about the proposal. And whereas upon request of the village, Mitchell Associates Architectures provided a revised task fee matrix, including fixed fees for Mitchell Associates Architects and its consultant Manitou Incorporated, as well as fees to be paid on a time and material basis. Now therefore be it resolved, the Department of Review of the Corporation Council of the Village Managers authorized to sign an agreement with Mitchell Associates Architects PLLC, 29 Thatcher Park Road, Voorheesville, New York, 12186, with the terms noted in the April 13th, 2022 proposal and the revised task fee matrix. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Comments from the board? We discussed this at length last week. This is, I think, a long overdue initiative. And I'm glad that we're, like so many projects we have on this ever expanding plate that we are taking on. And hopefully an excellent product will come out of this and an implementation plan. Martha?
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay.
We didn't hear everybody. Did everybody vote? I'm sort of not hearing it. Yep. You heard everybody? Okay.
Okay. Authorizing the village manager to sign a letter of intent with Westchester County through the Department of Community Mental Health and Family Services of Westchester with regard to the planned collaboration of the Mobile Crisis Response Team to serve the Austining community and surrounding areas. Whereas as part of Westchester County's plans to reimagine policing in the county issued a request for proposals to implement a Mobile Crisis Response Team MCRT partnership model to address mental health, developmental disabilities, substance misuse, and co-occurring issues. And whereas the county entered into an agreement with Family Service of Westchester in regard to the planned collaboration of the MCRT to serve the Austining community and surrounding areas, including Briarcliff Manor, Mount Pleasant, Pleasantville, and Sleepy Hollow. And whereas the MRCT team will be co-located at and operating from the Austining Police Department in addition to offices of the Family Services of Westchester. And whereas the MRCT team will provide mobile and telephonic crisis response 24 hours per day, 7 days a week, 365 days per year for the duration of the agreement. And whereas the Austining Police Department will provide and supervise law enforcement personnel to work in tandem with Family Services of Westchester in order for the MRCT team to provide the safest and best coordinated crisis response. And whereas the Board of Trustees discussed the proposed mobile crisis response team at its May 25th work session, hearing from Chief Kevin Sylvester, representatives from the Department of Community Mental Health. And whereas board members expressed their strong support for the program, now therefore be it resolved that upon review of the Corporation Council, the village manager is authorized to sign the May 10th, 2022 letter of intent with the County of Westchester, acting through the Department of Community Health, Mental Health, and Family Services of Westchester. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments. I actually have a question. So this was presented as a pilot. We're voting tonight for the village manager to authorize sign a letter of intent to go through the services. Does the letter actually state that it's a pilot and that it's for X number of years? Is it in detail?
The
Oh, we
pilot
looked
is-
at it? I don't even know.
The pilot is referenced in the letter of intent.
Okay,
But this is a specific letter of intent that because the pilot was actually issued by, well, I shouldn't say I don't want to confuse people with the term pilot. There was an RFP issued by the county
correct.
for different organizations to do the mobile crisis response team. One of the ones that was awarded, and Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, was Family Service of Westchester, and Austining is within the particular catchment area. So the letter of intent here would be between the village, the county through its Department of Community Mental Health, and Family Service of Westchester. So it's a pilot agreement, but the RFP, which is the from the county's end, does go into the, the period of time and, other, all those other aspects.
And it's the same for everybody in this pilot. The pilot, not like a development real estate pilot, but a pilot as in business where you try something out, and if it works, you continue, and if it doesn't work, you stop or make changes, et cetera, et cetera. And is there a financial obligation at all at this point from Ossining?
There's no
Are you aware?
indication of any financial obligation, but Chief, correct me if I'm wrong on that, if you know something else.
No, this is paid for by Westchester County.
Right. Well, that's what I thought, but sometimes between the ideation and strategy to implementation, things change. So I appreciate it. Thanks for that information. Great. Okay, Martha, unless somebody else has questions, which I don't know if they do, or comments. No.
All those in
Okay.
favor? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Finance establishment of 2022 Austin Firehouse Consolidation Study Capital Project from state grant funding, town transfer and general fund balance. Whereas village management wishes to establish a capital project in accordance with the submitted proposal to analyze all Austin firehouses and develop an action plan for all recommendations with a total project budget of $100,000. The capital project will be funded in part from a New York State Consolidated Funding Grant in the amount of $18,750 with additional funding from the town of Austin of $6,250 and $75,000 transferred from general fund contingency. Now therefore be resolved, capital projects and capital project budgets are established as follows. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments? Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Resolution approval of honorary naming of the corner of Main Street and Central Avenue for Neil Wolf as Neil Wolf Street. Whereas the purpose of the honorary street naming policy approved by the Village of Austin Board of Trustees is to honor current and former residents of the village who have made contributions to the village through accomplishments during the honoree's lifetime. And whereas on or about April 8th, 2022, the village manager received a letter from Dr. Gail Marchica, president of the Greater Austin Chamber of Commerce, requesting that the corner of Main Street and Central Avenue be named Neil Wolf Street to honor Neil Wolf, the owner of Bob's Army and Navy, which store has been a fixture in Austin for more than 75 years. And whereas pursuant to the honor street naming policy, the Board of Trustees by resolution referred the application to the village historian for a report. And whereas on or about April 29, 2022, village historian Joyce Sharrox Cole provided the Board of Trustees a report of the application, which included a summary of Neil Wolf's contributions to the village of Austin. And whereas the historian's report noted the following: Bob's Army and Navy Support Center has been in business in Austin for 76 years. The establishment is generationally owned by the Wolf family. Neil's father, Robert Bob Wolf, and Aunt Helen Wolf founded the store in 1946. The store has seen multiple locations, including 12 Spring Street, where it first opened. In 1973, the building at 12 Spring Street was taken from Urban Renewal. Bob's Army and Navy was the first store to relocate during Urban Renewal when they moved to the current location at 159 Main Street. The family not only moved to this location, but also purchased the building. In 1978, Neil Wolf took over the reins of the store. And whereas the village historian's report also included some of the following comments. A, from the town of Austin, the town was just one of Neil's many loyal customers. Neil was always ready to help and order when you needed if he did not have it in stock. B, from the Austin Children's Center, Neil was a wonderful friend to the Children's Center. He welcomed the children to visit the store always. C, from the Greater Austin Chamber of Commerce, he was a conscience of the board. He would take great care in making such questioning decisions to ensure the results would be fair and equitable to all. Neil was integral in helping bring the businesses on Main Street together. And D, from Galata House. Neil was a great supporter of Galata House for 6 years. At its inception, while still raising money to help flood/fire victims, Neil allowed families to shop for clothing and shoes without immediate payment and huge discounts. Even during the COVID pandemic and as his business suffered, he still offered the same huge discounts for those in need. And whereas pursuant to the policy, a public hearing was held on the application on May 18th, 2022 via Zoom in accordance with Executive Orders 11 through 11.6, at which time members of the public were given the opportunity to address the Board of Trustees on the application, after which the public hearing was closed. Now therefore be it resolved that the application for the honorary street naming on the corner of Main Street and Central Avenue as Neil Wolf Street for Neil Wolf is granted, and be further resolved. The appropriate signage will be located at the aforementioned corner. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Comments? I'm sure we'll work out a date where all this festivities will happen at some point.
Mayor, it's going to be the date of the village fair at 10 a.m.
Oh, that's right. You know what? It's on my calendar already. You're right. Great. Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Call for public hearing, proposed local law 6/2022 titled A Local Law Adding a New Chapter 57 Video Conferencing by Public Bodies to the Village of Austining Code. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austining hereby calls for a public hearing to take place at 7:30 p.m. on June 15, 2022 to consider proposed local law 6/2022 titled A Local Law Adding a New Chapter 57 Video Conferencing by Public Bodies to the Village of Austining Code. And be it further resolved, as a result of the continuing state of emergency contained in Executive Orders 11 through 11.6 and the associated suspensions and modifications of law, including the open meetings law, the public hearing will be conducted remotely via the Zoom platform. And be resolved that for those individuals who want to watch and or participate in the public hearing remotely, the following contact information is provided. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Comments?
No.
Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Call for public hearing, proposed local law 7/2022 titled A Local Law Amending Chapter 10 Community Choice Aggregation Energy Program of the Village of Austining Code. It's all that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Austining hereby calls for a public hearing to take place at 7:30 p.m. on June 15, 2022 to consider proposed local law 7/2022 titled A Local Law Amending Chapter 10 Community Choice Aggregation Energy Program of the Village of Austining Code. And be further resolved, as a result of the continuing state of emergency contained in Executive Orders 11 through 11.6 and the associated suspensions and modifications of law, including the open meetings law, the public hearing will be conducted remotely via the Zoom platform. And be it further resolved that for those individuals who want to watch and or participate in the public hearing remotely, the following contact information is provided. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Comments? Martha?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Is there any continuing business of the board? Is there any new business of the board? Is there anybody here who would like to address the board on issues not related to the agenda, but of relevance to the common good of the village? No? Okay, seeing no one, can I have a second and a motion to adjourn the meeting? Is there an executive session, Stuart?
There is not, Martha, thank you.
There isn't one, and I don't think there's anything after this. Great.
I'll make
That's a
some-
motion and a second, I think you meant to say.
Yes, motion and second to close.
Second.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, an all-time, well, not the fastest, apparently, Deputy Mayor Casada is fastest record. But for me,
No quite, Mayor.
I mean, I can keep talking, as you all know, but we'll try not to do that. Anyway, I'm only going to close with saying, please stay tuned to the web blast that comes from the staffs, from Jamie Hoffman. Please look at all the Facebook posts, share them with all your friends. June is chock full of events, parades, celebration, lots of joyful things going on here and in larger county, lots of meetings that are interesting to public. So please keep your eyes open for that. And with this, I close on the 1st of June, 2022, 8:34, and have a good evening.